You are listening to the Social Hotelier Show, a podcast that inspires hoteliers to create meaningful and memorable experiences for their customers in pursuit of their passion. We share our views and experiences relating to hospitality, technological trends, and also relating to humanity. Here is your host, Sam-Erik Ruttman.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Social Hotelier podcast with me, Sam-Erik Ruttman. Derek DeSalvia, my guest today, is Executive Vice President and Chief Customer Officer at Hilton Grand Vacations, leading global resort operations, customer experience, and revenue strategy. With a background at the Walt Disney Company, he brings a strong focus on service excellence, innovation, and delivering experience-driven travel that reshapes how guests engage with the vacation ownership today. With over 20 years of experience, he has led large sales, marketing, and operations teams focused on the growth and innovation. He also serves on the board of Boys and Girls Clubs of Central Florida. Welcome, Derek, and thanks for joining us today.
Well, good morning, and thank you for having me here today, Sam. I'm very excited to be here.
So let's maybe move on directly to about vacation ownership. It's an interesting topic, and I know very little about some. I have some questions that I hope you can help me to answer. And from your perspective, how has vacation ownership truly evolved over the past decade? I'm sure there has been some changes from the initial start of the vacation ownership.
Sure, there's certainly been tremendous change in the industry for many, many decades. And I think where we are today in 2026 is profoundly different from what people viewed vacation ownership as. For us at Hilton Grand Vacations, we're focused on really being the stewards of that vacation experience end to end. So it's not just about coming and showing up for the time frame that you're here at one of our resorts. It's really what you experience on that resort, what the membership offers you outside of that resort experience, and really how to expand your vacation profile above and beyond just staying with us for a few nights and experience some world-class resorts. So it's definitely a lot different than it was maybe 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah. So when a family or person decides to look into the possibility of vacation ownership, what are the key questions they will ask you before they then decides, okay, I'm going to go with this?
Being in the industry a long time, I've heard a lot of different insights and questions and curiosity from consumers. And questions I would always say is, people have to, one, make sure they're committed to vacationing. They want a vacation and really experience those memories and those destinations and get out there and take a break from reality and life on a regular basis. That's super important. And then what do they want out of it? Do they want regional destinations? Do they want global destinations? Do they want sunny destinations? And does that company provide the opportunity for individuals to achieve those goals? And then finally, and most importantly, I think is it financially affordable for us? And is it something that fits our vacation profile and our lifestyle?
Yeah. You say that you're operating on a global basis. Am I correct?
Yeah, our resort portfolio expands from, the EU and Europe. We've got some great resorts out there, all the way to our latest development out in Kyoto, Japan, which we've already got some properties in Japan. So we have a pretty expansive footprint for our members to experience.
Yeah. So when you look at, for instance, Kyoto, which is your latest, how do you personally get involved in kind of spearheading that program and so on? I'm just curious how it works behind the scenes before the actual product is rolled out.
Yeah, it's such a great and interesting process, and collaboration is key. So one of the first things we do is identify where we need to be and what market we need to be in to further expand opportunities for our members and desires of our members. And Kyoto is definitely a international regional play for our Japanese members and our Hawaii members or our West Coast members, more accessible, but it's open for everybody. So we looked at, where we want to be and where it's a great vacation destination. What is something that we don't serve? What market do we not serve? And then there's a process involved. Our development teams get involved. They start putting together some opportunities. They look for a property. They look for partnerships. And then internally as an organization, we start planning. We start planning resort operations. We start planning, making that inventory accessible in the organization, when the launch date is, when the finish date is. And timing is so critical on that, to lining everything up to getting to that open date. And it's been great. We just opened Kyoto few weeks ago, and it's been really resonating well. It's a magnificent property with 63 beautifully appointed one-bedroom units in the heart of Kyoto, a really historic Japanese city, and it's just been going really great. I'm looking forward to going out there soon in the next couple months to do the grand opening officially, and really, really excited to see the property and see some of our members and our guests enjoying that property.
Interesting. Oh, Kyoto is a wonderful city. I've been there with my wife, and we have every time we go there, we have a great time. So that sounds like a very good prospect for you.
We're very
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah. So tell me about what your thoughts are. What are the biggest misconceptions that still exist about the model of vacation ownership?
One of the ones we deal with still today, it's very interesting, is people's perception, and I get it. People that aren't in the vacation ownership membership platform or haven't used it or experienced it, they believe it's the kind of the vacation ownership slash timeshare of old, where you had to go to the same place every year for the same time. And I couldn't express enough today how different that is. And
Yeah.
most of our members use it to travel all around. Very often, very smaller percentage than most people believe of our members come back to the same place every year. Now, look, we certainly have members that have a really distinct appeal for a certain property and they come every year. Like, for example, here in Orlando, Florida, in January, February, March, a lot of our members have been coming back for 15, 20 years. But the bulk of our membership today and the younger generation members moving in, they want to experience a lot of different destinations. And so, again, leading into our global footprint and our scale has really given us the opportunity to provide those experiences for our members.
Yeah. So you're sort of you have your finger on your pulse about what's happening in that industry. What signals you that the industry is moving in the right direction? Are there some movements that you have noticed?
There's a lot of big brands in the industry from, us at Hilton Grand Vacations, sort of tied to Hilton Worldwide, and you've got some other competitors that are tied to bigger brands. And what we're definitely seeing is a real focus on the uniqueness of resorts, number one, and what they stand for in their identities, which is great. And I think that's a different attraction and a different connection for people when they travel. But most importantly, we're seeing it is the breadth of experiences and offers and benefits that are associated with the vacation ownership. It's really, really changed the landscape of the business. So it's not just again about going back to destinations or staying at resorts all over the world. It's additional benefits like we have our travel services platform, which offers cruises and airline discounts and different partnerships across the organization, different experiences. And we're really bullish about continuing that and changing the way this product operates and what it looks like in the future.
Yeah. So what you're saying is that there's also change in the guest expectations that shapes the role of the experience you're providing.
Sure. And I think, look, like any company, that if you want to be successful and remain relevant, you've got to listen to your guests. And so,
Yeah.
listening to our consumers and listening to our members and getting out there, personally, me getting out there and talking to people and holding focus groups, us doing surveys, us pulling data and market insights and external market insights is really important. And you take all those and you aggregate it down and you really get a pathway and hopefully get an outlook of to what your company should be adjusting and pivoting to and what the transformation of that company looks like.
Yeah. So what differentiates a memorable experience from a standard offering in your view?
For me personally, I would tell you the people, and
Yeah.
that's something we're really dedicated to. You can go anywhere and get a great resort and a great product, most anywhere today in the world, and have a
Yeah.
really good experience with the room or some of the amenities offer. But the people you engage with and the interactions you have with those individuals makes a difference. And I
Yeah.
always tell our teams is the one thing that nobody else can substitute or replicate that we have. It's our identity and who we are and our people. So we focus a lot on that, and we're still dedicated to the product and making sure it's a world class product, and we provide a great product, and it resonates with people. But we want ourselves to be the difference.
I mean, that's exactly the whole industry is about. I mean, most people do not remember what the hotel room looked like at the end of the day, but they remember how they were made feel, or when they arrived, or somebody was especially looking after them, and they remember Frank or Sharon who were looking after their stay. So that makes a world of a difference, and I think that also indicates that maybe there's time to go back again to see Frank and Sharon Yeah, they
Yes,
are.
you're spot on, and I tell personal stories to our team members about that to really help it resonate. You ask my kids, and you look at some of our camera rolls and our pictures, and my kids are older now, and they would tell you if you go in there and archive our last several vacations over the last decade. There's a lot of pictures of the experiences and the people they met, and maybe the treats in room or the things we had on vacation. Very few pictures of the room.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something that needs to be addressed eventually to have the people who plan the space. What can they do differently? Because I think the space has been quite stagnant for a while. Maybe there are some brands who are more innovative, or is it just because the customers are willing to able to when they walk into a place that blindfolded, they will know where the bathroom will be on the left side and the wardrobe will be on the right side. But I think do you agree? We need to also look at how the space is being designed to make it a little bit more relevant for today's needs?
Yeah,
Or is it?
absolutely. I
Yeah,
think, we've seen the evolution of our product as we develop new products, whether it's Kyoto or our newest project in Hawaii, Kahaku, or, new projects we're working on for the future here. All that relevancy comes into play. And again, it goes back to what I said earlier. It's the listening post of the consumer and understanding how those travel trends are changing. And, sometimes you have to understand your unit mix as well. Do people want a 2-bedroom all the time when they travel, or a 3-bedroom? Or you're seeing more travelers use studios in 1 bedroom, maximize their time, and only using that space in certain markets as just a transient room in essence of what it is.
yeah,
So yeah, that design the room is very critical for us, and it's keeping it modern and contemporary and functional. Functional is the most important.
yeah,
And then I kind of go back to something you said too, is the most important thing is a memory. How do the resorts recognize? Maybe it's a unique smell at the resort, popcorn, ice cream, cookies, or a pizza place we have at the resort, or something unique that we're known for, or that warm greeting smile, or the way their lobby's laid out, and that the familiarity with their return. Or if you're going somewhere else, expecting that to happen there too, and being really comfortable with knowing that, hey, I'm going to go have a great experience with great people and really enjoy my time.
yeah. But you're so right. I mean, the smell. I mean, there's something about the memory of when you uh, have a scent in your nose that is very pleasant, and you remember where you were when you experienced before. And I tried that approach when I was a young F&B manager, where we had a cafe in the lobby of a uh, Intercontinental Hotel I was working at then, and I thought it would be a great idea that when we bake the croissants in the morning, we let the smell of fresh croissants be linger in the lobby. And I was hammered by the general manager because he thought it was absolutely the most stupid idea he has heard in the time. But I realized when the people could smell the fresh croissant and we were at the hotel, there was something that was pleasant about it.
I think you're absolutely right. Again, it goes to that sound of people hustling in the lobby and taking a moment to stop and smell that. I just took a short trip with my wife, and to that point, we went and took a beach vacation, and just the smell of this ocean air and the salt air when you arrive at the
Yeah.
resort, it gives you that sense of calm and that feeling. And it's not unique to just beach properties, beach resorts, but to your point, like you're walking into a resort, and it's an urban destination, and you every morning you smell that fresh croissant. It's that comfort. It's that feeling
Yes.
of comfort that where you're supposed to be. We want people to feel that when they arrive on our property, that they know they're where they're supposed to be.
Yeah. Exactly. So let's talk a little bit about changing traveler behavior. What key shifts are you seeing in how people approach planning their vacations today?
The diversity that's out there today is really, really impressive, and just the way people use it, and the different, long-term stays, short-term stays, 1 or 2 nights here, using multiple short stays in a year. I'll give you an example. It's not unique to certain demographic or population, but used to be a 1 week vacation was like the standard, and then people started doing 1 week and a short weekend, and now we're seeing travelers take maybe 4 or 5 different short trips
Oh,
in
yeah,
a year, and do like a Thursday night to a Sunday morning, and say, hey, I'd rather go for the year and experience 4 or 5 destinations, and really build those experiences, those memories, than have one long stay at one destination over 20 years. I can do 20 destinations in 4 years, et cetera. And that's not prescriptive to anyone in particularly, but it's just very interesting to see that trend change, and people
yeah.
sometimes shorten the time to get more experiences. I think it's great.
Yeah. So are travelers today looking for more structure or more spontaneity in their journey?
Really depends. I mean, that's not a
Yeah.
one size fits all question. I think there's some people
Yeah.
that want the essence of spontaneity and say, "Hey, I'm going to wake up on Wednesday morning and book a weekend trip and go," and pretty open to where I go as long as it's in 2 hour drive or hour plane flight. And other people want a lot of structure, and that I think comes down to maybe things we don't know in intimacy, right? People's personal lives. And if somebody's got a pretty hectic life and they don't have time to be spontaneous and just jump and go all the time, they want to be very planful about
Yeah.
their vacations and when they go. And a lot of that comes down to civil service or teachers. They have that very distinct time period and that time frame they can vacation. So they want to plan those vacations. Other people have more flexibility to work remotely or work from home. Hey, I want to go work remote. I'm gonna, I remember talking to one of our members, and she was a young woman, and she had just purchased this and loved it and used it to just work remotely from different destinations and blend that work with vacation. So that was not normal 5, 6 years ago.
Yeah.
So
That's
when
right.
you talk about new behaviors and new trends entering the marketplace, there's one right there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the whole Corona period that we had changed
Yeah.
so many things, and yeah, absolutely.
Which I
So
think is, I think really think is great. I think it's great for people to have a different perspective and a different way to do things.
sure, absolutely, I totally agree with you there. How do different generations engage with vacation ownership today? And what have you seen in your work?
Yeah, it's funny. I call my kids the FOMO generation because they have the fear of missing out, and they want to do whatever's hot in the moment and shift and move their original decision making and plans very quickly. And I'm sure I was like that to a certain degree at some point in my life, but now people see that very differently.
Yeah, yeah. What stands out to you about how young travelers think about travel compared to previous generations?
I really feel like young travelers are more ambitious. I think the world has shrunk with social media and accessibility and utility. So it's really great to see the younger generations coming up and making travel and travel experiences and travel lifestyles a priority. And
Yeah,
it's pretty fun to see the different unique things. And look, I think that's great because it puts pressure on the hospitality industry, not just this industry, to really rethink things and be bullish and satisfy the consumer needs. So it's a pretty unique paradigm shift in the power of vacationing.
yeah. I mean, I noticed that there are hotels now that don't have restaurants, but basically they're advertising the neighborhood where the hotel is
Sure.
located, and they're promoting the neighborhood restaurants, and that makes it a very strong sales reason why people should be staying in, let's say, in that particular neighborhood. Before it was, the hotel has to have their own coffee shop, the uh, room service, and maybe room service doesn't exist anymore, but it's delivery service that exists, and that's how what I have seen in my time in the industry, how things have changed also.
Yeah, it's a great point. I personally took a pretty, I wouldn't say provocative, but a risky move to create a series of where I go out to resort destinations and highlight local eateries, coffee shops, bakeries, places are right around an easy walk or a very short drive of our resort destinations. So people can go experience those things in those markets. And the question you would ask, your point is, well, what about some of your F&B on your properties? That's great. And we want to encourage that. But the reality is we know people are going to go off property at some point anyway.
Yes.
So if we can curate a series or some kind of tutorial or educational or just highlight places in market where people can go and have a really great experience, my thought was, well, if they can do that and we can show them that, that's just going to make that experience even better. And
Yeah.
something that they never would have thought about before planning and maybe gone to just the routine places to go in those areas. But we're also giving back to the local businesses too and trying to drive people to those local businesses.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. When you promote the new destinations like this Kyoto, uh, obviously must be a lot of videos or footage being taken there to promote this destination. What are the key factors besides the beautiful property itself that are being promoted, or how you're educating the future visitors there?
It's important to tell the story too, right, of the
Yeah,
destination and really, our branding and creative teams do an amazing job. They show incredible content of the resort, the rooms, the local area, and really building up that anticipation of this new resort coming and this launch. And driving a bit of urgency for people to want to get there and spend time there. And it's not unique to Kyoto, to your point. We do that with all of our resorts. And we
Yeah.
also, throughout the year, will highlight resorts and different destinations. And we have a Club Traveler magazine, which does incredible with our members and the readership, that highlights destinations, what to do in those destinations, way to rethink, your travel plans. Have you thought about going to Williamsburg, Virginia Beach, or Gatlinburg, or Sedona, or Scottsdale? I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And it's our way of educating our member base on what's out there, what they can experience, and how things can be a little bit different on their typical vacation plans.
Yeah. But they also, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, you have, for instance, there are some sort of huge big events in the city where you have your property, let's say the Formula One in Las Vegas and so on. How do you entice the people to make their plans a little bit around the event, or is that something that comes naturally to them?
Yeah, such a critical part of our business. We have our
Yeah,
Hilton Grand Vacations Ultimate Access platform, which hosts over 4,000 events a year across all of our destinations, essentially. And our marquee events are our LPGA Tournament of Champions in January, which we host, and January, February every year. And then in November, we host a lot of our members and guests at the F1 races in Las Vegas. And those are just two examples of big events
yeah,
that we do smaller events all the way up to those big events throughout the year. And it goes to your point of what people want to experience on vacations, number one. Two, it goes back to how we want to provide more value back to our members in the organization and really my comment about being stewards of their vacation experiences. So when I say that, it's not, again, just not about the room, but it's about things we plan, things we do, but also things we can offer them outside of our business.
yeah. I mean, also, yeah, and also it somehow also resonate for people who have not bought into your programs when they see that you're hosting some large events, for instance. That gives them also a comfort that these guys are very serious of their
Yeah.
presence in that location.
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, we want people to know we're not just about, it's what I mentioned earlier. We're not just about staying at a resort and come to stay with us and
Yeah,
think coming back here every year. Look, we want you to travel throughout our system every year, go experience our resorts, experience our events, see what we have planned for you, understand what's in the local markets, and then most importantly, make sure our people deliver on an exceptional experience.
yeah. Okay, so very good, Derek. I have then few final questions here
Sure.
about the hospitality culture and the leadership. As a chief customer officer, how do you bring the concept of hospitality into your leadership approach with your team?
Yeah, so about 2 years ago, we embarked on a very dedicated program to amplify hospitality across our organization. And my key tenet with that was we need to share hospitality amongst ourselves as team members very well and make sure we understand the root of hospitality is taking care of people and making sure that we host people in the right way. And so we've trained all of our teams now, close to over 9,000 of our team members in the operations areas to really understand what hospitality is all about. It's not just about service. Service is it's our table stake. It's who we are. But
Yeah,
how we define hospitality, how we execute on it is different. So once we got that really clean in our organization and made sure it was a very clear message, now we can deliver on that with our guests and our consumers. So we've seen tremendous impact of that through our guests and member stays. And we share those stories amongst our team members. We look for those moments that inspire hospitality across the organization, and we share those with our team members, whether it's one of our team members helping somebody in need and one of our members or making a special moment or recognizing a milestone in their life or it's a holiday season and they're doing different things. And we highlight those team members to give them the opportunity to share their story. And two, we want to, again, inspire our team members to do more with our guest interactions.
yeah, very good. And how do you ensure consistency in the guest experience across such a broad global operation that you have?
A lot of that comes down to metrics. We manage our metrics every day, and our teams, our resort operations leadership teams, are really dialed into looking at the metrics that affect room cleanliness or guest interactions, overall stay score. I mean, there's a lot of different things we look at to make sure these are the indicators of how we're doing. It's our scorecard. It's our report card. Hey, how are we doing? How are we meeting expectations of consumers? We know clearly what the opportunities are and how we identify those and execute and take action on those. And then we make sure that we set a threshold and a bar that we want to achieve, and the teams do a great job of that.
Yeah, do you still do these Mr. Shopper programs where it's
Yeah,
unannounced? Yeah.
we do. We do. Yeah, big part of what we do.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun doing it myself. I have to admit, it was it was working, but it was fun in the same time. Yeah,
Look, and those programs aren't meant for us to micromanage our teams, but it's
Yeah,
really make sure we in those moments when we're not around, or it's we want to really understand the guest experience and the guest journey. The best thing to do is just get a guest and have them go in and give us a grade on the experience and what they had.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, very good, Derek. I think this has been sort of that conversation about what you do, and now the final segment is called "Off the Mic," and that's meant to get to know Derek a little bit more about the person behind the persona. So, can you bear with me with a few questions?
Let's do it.
All right. So you run a lot of things. What's one thing in your personal life that refuses to be managed?
Oh, that's that's a tough question. Time,
Yeah.
time. I dedicate myself heavily to my professional life and my personal life, and having to balance those two and achieve everything I want to achieve personally and professionally. And when I say personally, meaning giving back to the community, spending time with my family, trying to be there for people, guide people, pass on what I've learned in my life to others to help them in life. It's really hard to manage that time and be there for everybody. So that's it's a responsibility I take very, very heavy.
Yeah, a good answer. If you had to swap your morning routine for something completely different, what would it be?
Retirement.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I have a very disciplined morning routine that gives me good. It's meant to give me good personal time and balance. It centers around physical fitness and health and starting my day off right with a clean head, and I enjoy that time. So if I could have more of that every day, I guess that'd be called retirement.
Very good. So I'm not sure. Is it three iced coffees a day or two iced
Oh
coffees a
yeah, you
day?
remember that story. Yeah, yeah. So it's funny. Yeah, it's wake up at about 6:15. I take a couple supplements, get my body started, and then two iced coffees, off to the gym, and then back home, get ready for work, and go.
Okay. So what happens if you skip one coffee?
Oh, it's going to be a slow day mentally for me.
Yeah. If you weren't in hospitality, what career would you secretly enjoy?
It's a tough one. I've been in hospitality literally my whole life. I started off as a paper boy in Staten Island, New York, and was in food and beverage for a long time, and then got into the vacation industry. So, I would probably be in science or biology. I really just gravitate to that very heavily. It It's something I'm passionate about. I love to just listen to things or take things on. So, probably science or biology. I don't know. I always say something maybe medicine, but I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. What's the most unexpected place that has genuinely impressed you as a traveler?
Wow, there's a couple. Japan, for sure. I mean, unbelievable. I would say another place I went. This was a while ago for. It was just a late, like a stopover for a couple of days. Was Munich, Germany. It was really beautiful and I was not prepared for that at all. So there's been a couple. I would say, yeah, Japan for sure is top of the list.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah, those are probably the top two right now.
Okay. Are you more of a plan everything traveler or figure out when I land type?
Kind of a hybrid. I mean, I like to plan to go on travel, but when I get to a destination, I like to play it by ear, and I like to use, you know, I'm kind of a foodie to a degree, but I also am, a sightseeing is a big thing for me too. So I tend to really, when I get to the destination, talk to people. Number one, and then two, I use a lot of Yelp or Google reviews or whatever it may be.
Yeah. Okay. Just a couple of more. So bear with me.
You're good.
What's one travel habit you have that your colleagues would find surprising?
Oh, I don't know if they find it surprising, but they maybe. Just the discipline when I travel of bringing supplements with me and meal times and what to eat, and just to make sure my stamina is always where it needs to be when I travel.
Supplements. How many supplements do you take a day?
Uh, Probably 15 to 20.
Oh, okay. I do five.
Yeah.
I have a long way to go then. Yeah, well, okay. If you could design your perfect day off with zero responsibilities, what does it look like?
It would be at a great resort on the beach, just relaxing, enjoying the weather. I like to, probably 80, 85-degree weather and just really enjoying the serenity of the beach and relaxing.
Very
I'm a,
good.
I'm a simple I'm a simple man. Simple relaxing vacations are the best.
Excellent. What's one small everyday luxury you refused to give up?
Coffee.
Yeah. We have a lot of we have those things in common. It's so
Yeah,
important.
I can give anything else up pretty much in my life. No matter, I, I really have no vices. But coffee is my thing.
Yeah. If your team described you in one word when you're not in the room, what do you hope it is?
I asked them that not too long ago, and I was shocked. Intense. Just intense is how they describe me. But I would also say intense but approachable.
Yeah, well, I think that's a very good combination.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Excellent. Well, thanks very much, Derek. I think that was sort of the questions I had in mind. But actually, it was one thing I didn't know about you, which I found uh, actually very, very interesting. Your activity with the board of Boys and Girls Clubs of Central Florida. Could you just briefly explain what it is and what your role is there? Because I think it's a wonderful initiative.
Yeah, sure. And thank you for that opportunity. I joined a couple of years ago. I was attending a lot of the events we put on in partnership with Boys and Girls Club and HGV to give back to the community, like I mentioned earlier. And I was just overwhelmed with a lot of emotions being at the Boys and Girls Clubs and seeing the kids and talking to the kids. I had the blessing and opportunity to be on a couple of the Youth of the Year panels, and that was even more impressive and overwhelming. And I just started really gravitating towards whatever I could do to help. And Jamie, who is the CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of Central Florida here in Orlando, Jamie Merrill, reached out and asked us if I would be open to being on the board. And I just think it's such a humble, honorable thing to do. And I'm lucky to be surrounded by a lot of people on that board and a lot of good individuals in the community trying to make an impact and really change the lives of as many kids as we can.
Excellent. Okay, Derek, so thank you very much for joining this episode. I really appreciate your input and your tips. So thanks very much, Derek.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us this week on The Social Hotelier Show. Make sure to visit our website, The Social Hotelier Show, blueberry.net, where you can subscribe to the show in Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Play, or via RSS, so you never miss a show. While you're at it, if you find value in this show, we appreciate a rating in Apple Podcast. Or if you simply tell a friend about the show, that will help us out too. Be sure to tune in for our next episode.